way too weird. Thank you for coming tonight. And the air, as I mentioned, it's palpable. A little bit of tension. It's heavy with the lost and our connection to each of them. But I can also feel it ever so slightly lightened, just thinking of lighting the candles and sending our prayers, hope, and love to the heavens with the burning of the wicks and the rising smoke plumes. This season, the weeks, months, and days which surround it are stressful at the best of times. But for anyone who has lost a loved one, a dear friend, a family member, notice how I separated those. It can be a reminder of what is gone. It is why we are here tonight, in fact, to collectively celebrate and grieve our lost. There are no easy losses when we are talking about people. It does not matter whether time took them, illness, addiction, suicide, or homicide. As people who are connected to other people, loss is felt, and often depending on how close we were and how well we knew the departed, as to how deep it is felt within us. We have the intention all year long of placing a lot of stock and time into mentally processing the loss in order to give it some sense of reason and place in our lives. But as Brad mentioned this morning, grief is messy. It doesn't just go away because we want it to, because it is equally as messy as the love we shared when they were here with us, because love is messy as well. We seem to have a much easier time with loss when it makes intellectual sense and follows the norms of our cultural experiences and expectations. We have much more difficulty, however, working through suicides, overdoses, and other addiction, alcoholism-related deaths. This is, of course, very reasonable because it is hard for us to find the reasons behind these deaths. It makes no sense to us. This, we imagine, will make it easier, if only we could figure it out. As I walked to the morning service with Mama Lewry, we talked about some losses that our family has been through over the last year or so. As we talked, I thought back about how loss has affected my family from long before I was even born, with the overdose of my grandmother, who I never knew. We talked about my mom's mother, which was obviously my grandma. She passed away this past year of natural causes. We talked about our friend Katie, who took her own life. And we talked about my cousin, who died just over a year ago of alcohol-related accident. And it occurred to me how close the feeling was of all of these things. It seemed simpler, somehow, to categorize the loss, which was explained by illness and age. But somehow this did not make the heavy feeling in my heart any less. And I asked myself why. And the answer was simple, and the answer has not changed from what I ask every time I go to do a funeral and grieve with others. Grief is carried in the heart, not the head. Now, the mind translates and processes the best it can. But as I am reminded doing these funerals and talking with my mom about the losses we've had, words are rarely enough to describe the emotions or what it means to experience these losses. We would have to roadmap our hearts and our spirits, because that is where we are touched when we share love with our fellows. It is not just our minds. We remember them. This is a poem taken from a sermon, and I did not get the person who did the sermon. But I am plagiarizing, absolutely. We remember them at the rising of the sun and at its going down. We remember them at the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter. We remember them at the opening of the buds and in the rebirth of spring. We remember them at the blueness of the skies and in the warmth of summer. We remember them. The rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn. we remember them. At the beginning of the year, and when it ends, we remember them. As long as we live, they too shall live. For they are now a part of us as we remember them. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them. When we are lost and sick of heart, we remember them. Rest now, lift up all you have lost. Imagine each of them as subtle, behind-the-scenes contributors to not only this present moment here together, but for all things, great and small, to come, in the unseen and unknown pathway ahead. This morning, Michael mentioned that in the perilous times, and I may not have quoted that word right. Did I get that right? I did. Nice. Yes. I wasn't even writing it down. This morning, he mentioned about the perilous times, when God reveals himself and his plan to us. And for a lot of us, these losses describe our most perilous of times, especially if we are survivors ourselves. Thank you for bringing your sorrow, your loss, your grief, and your memories. Thank you for helping us fill the universe with a certain kind of love only possible when people come together and share in this all too common vulnerability of being human. Although our hearts are heavy and full tonight in remembering the losses we have suffered, let us slow our breath, close our eyes, and surrender even just the slightest bit of sadness. May you be exactly where and what you need to be. And may you find a sense of peace, love, and understanding somewhere intertwined with that beautiful, messy grieving. May peace be with you all this holiday season. Amen.